And I guess here's where I figure out if I did this correctly. So I think it is correct, and since I haven't, so the present is Garyvee Crypto Show is present time. Watch Garyvee Answer Show is the older stuff. So I'll have to do 2.5 because I didn't do present after this.
What was it? What, like a meeting? It was live. I watched it, and I think we all spoke about it afterwards. It happened with the United States, where they had certain influential people in the cryptocurrency space, and they were asking them, does Bitcoin pose a risk to the U.S. dollar? I think one or two of them said in the future it could, and the general consensus was that no, this will never cause a risk to the U.S. dollar. This is why this is probably one of the most interesting things in the entire world, because I mentioned before, unless something is a risk to you, you don't mention it. It's not a thing. Like, you aren't probably writing a publication as to why you don't like mosquitoes, or why butterflies need to be extinct because they are going to be a risk, or you don't write a thing talking about, you know, when you walk by a sneaker shop, how the sneakers need to go away because they hurt your feet, and therefore it's going to hurt everyone else around the entire world should the sneaker market completely collapse. Very bad choice of examples, but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Shopify dropshipping, how most people teach it, is completely dead, and anyone
and you know how to do it.
From all
do I have to pay
make
you?
A bunch of money from Shopify, I promise.
Oh, sorry.
The fact that this is now being added to the Federal Reserve's stress test scenarios, along with a war with North Korea, should give you a bit of indication. I know that, I mean, you know, it's not the nicest idea or scenario to actually have to be able to put out there, but the idea is that crypto is becoming, for lack of a better term, I want to say a risk. Rather, let me see if I can choose my words better. Governments are slowly coming to the idea that what wasn't a risk to them before could certainly become one, especially since the cryptocurrency market is overdue for a bull run, and because major financial entities are getting into cryptocurrencies as well. Some of the main players and the main institutions and governments and companies and stock exchanges who hated cryptocurrency for a very long time are now betting on Bitcoin being a new world currency, or being the money of the internet, meaning whenever you need to do something on the internet, you will simply pay for it with Bitcoin. That's the first thing. And the main shift that I saw, when, like I said, when I was first thinking of making this video, or when I ran across that first article, I found a whole bunch of things like this, where, you know, governments are talking about pose no risk, posing no risk, posing no risk.
Oh, Jesus.
And something, like, it was almost like a scale that had tilted. And I realized it had happened around the same exact time when the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ came forward and said, hey, we're going to get into crypto. And then you have this. It says, the Central Bank of Kenya joins the conversation on crypto risks. The World Central Bank says that crypto could risk bank runs.
I don't know.
China's central bank eyes crypto as a possible yuan risk.
That seems a little suspect.
Canadian Central Bank's contingency plan for crypto.
Only because if he was sitting down when it got red hot, or did it not get red hot when he stood up? Let's see. Yeah, so this is a little fake. Yeah, it's not fake. It's not real. Yeah, I guess it's entertaining.
No. Indian government fears that cryptocurrencies could destabilize the rupee. We just had this about a day or two ago. A couple days ago. It says Russian President Putin orders government to adopt crypto regulation by July. I saw this a couple days ago. Didn't really add it into a video. The government has pretty much been ordered by July
Oh,
of this
Britney
year
Spears?
to kind of get it together and get the crypto regulation in order. Same exact thing that we're also seeing with multiple other countries. They're all doing the exact same thing. For some reason in 2018, everyone took their time. I assume that at some point the governments around the world thought that they wouldn't have to give any type of crypto regulation. I think that they were hoping that crypto markets would completely shatter, fall to the ground, Bitcoin would fall to zero. The same exact thing that we saw. We spoke about that at least 45 times last year. Everyone thought it was going to die out and end. Lo and behold, it has not, and it is not going to because of all the major players who are getting into the cryptocurrency game. So my thing is, I found it quite interesting, especially going from the last one to this one. And this was in May of last year. Seeing the shift very rapidly because, once again, I know a lot of people, and I'm not here to convince you. I'm way beyond that at this point. When Bitcoin does eventually hit $100,000 per coin, I mentioned this in 2017. This is going to be a huge shock for the financial world, and I don't mean like maybe like a negative one, but I mean as far as everyone who doubted Bitcoin is going to kind of zip their lips, nicest way of saying it, at the exact same time, and buy as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. But at this point, we also spoke about this the other day, not financial advice, talking about how eventually buying one Bitcoin, even fractions of Bitcoin, will be completely unobtainable for a lot of people. We also have the news from last year, once again referencing it back again, from the Swiss bank, who noted in 2018,
All right,
they said when Bitcoin's price
finish.
should...
Let me finish this, because if it's just more of him talking and me listening, it's not really worth it. If he says something interesting, I'll turn it back on. If not, you'll know, because the next thing will be Garyvee. Okay, so maybe he has some interesting facts about Bitcoin taking over the gold market, but let's see what he's got to say.
The scenes, governments are doing their best to figure out exactly, and I mean, it's so clear. I don't understand how some people can still...
Are you serious?
We will always still deny this. Governments are either rushing to buy Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I know this may, far-fetched, but you have to understand everything is kind of connected. And on top of that as well, when Bitcoin does reach $100,000
Yes.
and $250,000, even just if it just stays there forever and never goes above $250,000, we're going to have a situation where governments are going to have to openly announce that they are buying Bitcoin and have their own reserve funds to not... If Bitcoin at $3,700 right now, crashing to zero could pose a financial threat, Bitcoin crashing at $20,000, or even, let's say, a good $30,000 with Bitcoin's total market cap over $1 trillion, could be detrimental to a huge amount of the world's economy. That's $1 trillion completely wiped out. When we have a situation where Bitcoin is 10 times that, even from the $25,000, $30,000 mark, governments and the World Bank and other things like that are going to have to come forward and announce that they have Bitcoin in reserve in order to ease the tensions in the minds of other people who are also into crypto, like heavy players in world governments. Because if you have a situation where Bitcoin alone collectively is worth $10 trillion and has started to absorb
That's going to be ridiculous.
Everything else, that people are pushing their money desperately into Bitcoin. If Bitcoin fell to zero, the world would be... we'd be eating rocks. I don't know the nicest way of kind of really saying that, but you kind of get
so
exactly where I'm
true.
going. I think the next step from here, and I guess is the scariest step if you kind of want to put it into that situation, is when we do pass by 20,000 again, and between the $50,000 to $100,000 mark, when Bitcoin finally passes
I'm curious
by $1
how long
trillion
it's going
on
to
its
take.
own, we're going to be... I know we're going to have a lot of articles about it, but as well, pay attention yourself to the news that kind of comes out there.
I can see the thousandth place, like from 20 to 25 to 26 to 31. I can see that going by as the hundreds place went by in Bitcoin's earlier ramp up to the bull market. like hundreds of dollars were like days or minutes, depending on how fast it moved. And I could see that unfolding in the thousands place on the way up to 50 and then 100K.
Accepting Bitcoin and openly talking about that they're also buying Bitcoin, because I think we already have, it's clear that banks are buying it. It's clear that institutions have been buying it up for quite a long amount of time. We now have information that universities are doing it, and we have the beginnings of pension funds.
Yale.
The next big step is the
ridiculous.
open discussion by governments openly that they are either going to be buying it, allocating a small amount of the government's funds or whatever for that year into cryptocurrencies, or that they have been doing it for a number of years. I have a very strong feeling this is going. I give it. I think it's going to take a while, but I think we have a good 3. I don't even want to say 5 years.
I'd say 2 to 5.
I think it's going to take relatively little time for Bitcoin to pass by 100,000, and this is when we're going to start getting the first murmurs of countries around the world who are going to be announcing. I'm a little hopeful that some will say that they're using Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies as their side currency along with their normal fiat. But I think it's going to be the news that they are buying it up themselves. And when we have news, official news, on the television, even if it's just one country, no matter how small or insignificant they might
be nuts.
that they are buying up Bitcoin.
I lost everyone that I ever cared about. Everything I knew.
That's great. Not interested in your story.
That's the moment where you need to make sure that you actually have some Bitcoin, not financial advice. Because I don't think we're going to have a major player who's going to come forward and say, hey, this is what we have. We're super rich, blah, 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 blah. We've been doing this for quite a long amount of time. I think it's going to be a smaller country first who's going to announce that they're putting or allocating a small amount of their funds. And other smaller countries will start to mimic them. And maybe something as simple as them trying to buy up 5,000, 10,000 Bitcoin.
And then the bigger ones are going to
cause a bull run, not even for the prices, but just for the adoption rate that we're going to have. Because the moment your government says that they're doing something, everyone else in the financial system or even any other type of system begins to follow them. Anyway, you kind of get what I'm saying. It's all very interesting. It's happening, and this is like the first drop in the bucket of it. It's the acceptance that crypto is going to grow, and that Bitcoin crashing in price may be as detrimental as going to war with North Korea. I want you to let that simmer in your mind for a couple of minutes. Think of how detrimental a war would be, and then equate that equally with Bitcoin going to zero. Just think about that. Think of why the U.S. Federal Reserve would waste its time with a stress test talking about Bitcoin potentially going to zero and ruining financial markets on the same exact level as a war. And then think of all the players who are getting into the cryptocurrency space who are going to raise the prices of Bitcoin up. It's all connected. If you look very simply, it's all there. Alrighty, everyone.
Perfect.
That is definitely going to do it for this video. Very interesting times. We live in, I mean, if nothing else,
it's going to get crazy.
Some of the most interesting times ever throughout the history of ever. These will be the things that we tell our kids, and they may not believe us. You can point them back to these videos and show them that we lived through all of this insanity.
That's going to be epic.
As always, I hope you all had a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are.
Oh, let me see if I can count.
Wherever in this world you might be, I hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. As always,
Vlad,
a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. They are Vlad the Impaler,
1,
Galaboa Snake,
2,
Rai,
3,
Brady Neal,
thank you,
L Doug,
5,
Arthur Yaku,
6,
Professor Wally from Gunbot University,
7,
Nick Mangialavori,
8,
Travis Haynes,
9,
Yasha Harari,
10,
Anthony Charles,
11,
Nick Kanaya,
12,
singer-songwriter Mike Savitz,
13,
Wise Night Owl,
14,
Joey Carafa,
15,
Jaleel Dowdy,
16,
Crypto Joe,
17,
Jim Gardner,
18,
Jared Schneider,
19,
Jeremy Fox,
20,
Amy Starsheen,
21,
Richie Rich III,
22,
and Jeffrey Ramsey. Thank you all very much for
23.
your generosity.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.
So now we have 23.
You know who loves you more than anyone else?
My mom.
Credit card companies. Need to buy something? Credit card companies are right.
Curious what this is. 2012.
Your personal brand is your resume. You know, if you think anybody's...
Dude, this is nuts. So, what Garyvee was thinking about a day before my birthday in 2012 is the exact thing I'm thinking about today in trying to do, and only started thinking about it in maybe 6 months ago. So this is kind of crazy.
out of your god darn mind. You know,
Consistency is what he's delivering over and over again.
your personal brand is your resume. You know, if you think anybody's hiring off a resume in 3 years, you're out of your god darn mind. You know, 90% of people I know Google you first anyway. No shot. So,
100% true.
you like it or not, I'm just
Oops,
glad
I am
that
all over the
they're
place.
selling, right? You know, the hippie movement in San Francisco, the tech space, that sometimes busts my chops. They're always selling too. They just don't realize it. They're not selling the way they think they're selling it a different way, but they're not. You know, and when push comes to shove, if you're not selling, you're gonna go out of business. And they always sell out to the big corporations. So, you know, this hierarchy of don't be a salesperson or don't promote yourself, you know, I understand, and being too much is definitely a bad thing, and I'm at fault at that at times. I get it, but I'm just, you know, excited, and I think that it's important to build a personal brand because it's the only thing you're going to have. Your reputation online and in the new business world is pretty much the game, and so you've got to be a good person because you can't hide anything, and more importantly, you've got to be out there at some level. I mean, if you've ever left a comment on a blog, or if you create a profile page on any public site, you are a personal brand. You may not be a big one. You know, Timmy behind in accounting may have a Facebook page that's public and a Twitter. You know, Timmy's a personal brand. He may not be hustling for it, but I promise
That
you,
is so
if you want
true.
to be an accountant at VaynerMedia one day, I'm looking that up. So, you know, it's a platform that can allow you to do very special things.
What he just said is exactly what I'm doing. How freaking ironic.
But I promise you, Timmy, if you want to be an accountant at VaynerMedia one day, I'm looking that up. So, you know, it's a platform that can allow you to do very special things. It's not something you can run away from. You know, being, you know, an introvert is not a negative. You know, you don't have to be obnoxious and over the top. You can be yourself. That's just fine. But to be naive to the world we're moving towards, where information's at your fingertips and it's readily available, and everything you do is being monitored. You know, you have a problem with Big Brother, you take that up with the era that you were born in. You know, take that up with your parents or God or the world.
That
but the
makes a
fact of the
lot
matter
of
is you're here,
sense.
And you've got skates on and a hockey stick, and I don't want to hear you crying about wanting to be a basketball player. And if that analogy doesn't make sense, I understand. But the fact of the matter is this, you know, we're living in a very connected, transparent, everybody knows your business world. And I think you need to embrace
This
that
2012.
not run away from it because
Dude.
it's the reality of the marketplace.
Hold on a second. I'll be right.
Right? Like, you know how many junior level
I
executives
don't think
sit
I
in
just
meetings
recorded
and wanna
this, so
vomit
let's
all
try it
over the
again.
place from what's being said and say, oh my God, the senior management or the CEO or my boss just doesn't get it. The ability for you to create a blog or to tweet about your thoughts, and I understand you can get fired, so you've got to be smart. I'm not telling you to go rogue here. You know, people get mad at me when I say that. I'm not telling people to grab guns and go into post offices. I'm just saying to, you know, this is America. It's not Russia. You know, you have the right to, you know, speak your mind, you know, and so obviously you've got to be respectful to the rules of the company that pays your bills, and you can't get fired and you don't want to go on unemployment. But, you know, I think it's very smart of, you know, somebody writing, I have an idea, and just putting it out there, because once you put out your smarts, you've got a real shot. And
That's exactly what I'm doing.
VaynerMedia charges, you know, tons of money, you know, hefty amount of money a month consulting, but I put a lot of it out for free on GaryVaynerchuk.com. The reason it works is because I talk in theory there, and when I have a client, we talk specifics. And there's a lot of nuances and navigation through specifics. And that's kind of where that's at.
That was a very good video. Right, so which show am I doing? 2.5, so that means relevant Garyvee material. 16 minutes ago, that's pretty freaking relevant.
Yo, Postmates, order whatever you want. For real? Yeah, go ahead.
This is kind of funny.
Let me see my phone. Who you ordering for? You ordering for a family? No. Download the app, order it on your phone. Okay? I'm gonna order for me what I need. I'm ordering out of necessity. You ordering to feed a village. Just
Like, it's stupid, but it's funny. I like it.
Is a place where you can
They know what they're doing. Because I'm sure that's happened to someone.
Talking about peanut butter. This is important, guys.
Sorry, I just interrupted that one.
The internet is a place where you can make $54,000 a year just talking about peanut butter.
Very true.
This is important, guys. You got your perspective.
I think this is one of my favorite... Wait a minute.
How many people here work
18?
somewhere but really want to have their own business or hustle? Raise your hands. A lot. For me, the internet is for you. For me, if I sat down with these two dudes,
Oh, I guess they just put it
black
out
shirt and white
today.
shirt right in this third row, and they both raised their
Yeah,
hands.
it's
For
relevant
me,
enough.
It's not about if I was sitting down with you for 3 hours. It's not about coming up with a business that's going to do $10 million. It's about understanding how much money you make now working a job, what you spend your money on to live, and trying to figure out how quickly you can get into a place where you don't have to work in a job. One more time, how many hands
I like...
work somewhere but want to do their own thing? Raise your hands.
That would be me.
More than half this audience. Meanwhile, let me tell you why most of the hands that just went up will...
I want to be able to work from my cell phone any place in the world. That's my goal.
They buy dumb shit. Do you know how many people here literally drive cars to impress people that they fucking hate? People literally going in debt or getting further from leaving the job they don't like to do something that will make them happy because they have to buy a certain car that has a logo that impresses people that they fucking despise.
Let's see what...
Do you understand how fucked up that is? Do you know how many people
Pardon
here
for the
live in
language,
homes
but
where they don't
just
use
being
more
honest.
than half the rooms in the house? Like, we are so fundamentally in a vortex that makes no sense that I am unbelievably passionate understanding how much money you make and what you can do to get off of it. But the problem is, again, people are doing so many things to keep up with the Joneses, to make it look like they're successful, to appease their parents, and a million fucking other things that have nothing to do with themselves.
I'm curious about this one.
Go detail, that's what this part's for. We're going general on the other stuff.
March 1st,
Oh yeah, I mean
2019.
Amazon, Apple, Google, Facebook, the reason they're so big is they're the toll booth of the internet.
Right, so in the past, the brands were out on the street fighting for the people walking by to buy food.
There will not, I genuinely believe that 7-Eleven and Burger King are deep shit in a 30-year window.
Oh, gosh.
This is about timing. You're very thoughtful. I've listened a couple times. Like, everybody here, I will tell you the biggest thing that I've gotten better at, the lessons I learned as a kid, even though I was right, I literally built my dad's entire business strategy for Wine Library when I took over in 1998 on this is true, that by the year 2000, which is 24 months from then, everybody would walk into our liquor store with a phone and have technology that would give them the price of every product in the country in order of best price. And that's literally how I decided to sell everything at cost that anybody knew and then build up other brands. It was great because it really worked because we were the price leader of every wine anybody wanted. We still don't do that. It is now 2019. We have close-ish capability. We have that capability-ish. There is something called Wine Searcher. If you're a big wine buyer that aggregates, like it's there, but it's not one person will walk into Wine Library this year. Best Buy, where people look up stuff on Amazon, you know? So I was wrong about timing. What I'm good at now, people are like, you're so right. I'm good at timing. That's why I didn't bet on VR. That's why I don't bet on AR. That's why I don't bet on machine learning or things of that nature. I know every one of those things is going to happen. The question is when, right? So, yes, what you're saying is right. The question for you is, how are you overthinking it? So would I say...
So to me, that means in my content and talking about things that excite me via blockchain, to talk about them as they pertain to virtual reality and augmented reality aren't as helpful excuse me, aren't as helpful as they would be if I were to speak about them in purely economic or social media platform terms. So that's kind of how my consumption of his content is going to now change slightly the approach that my content has. Hold on a second. And we're back.
Buildings, and build up other brands. It was great because it really worked, because we were the price leader of every wine anybody wanted. We still don't do that. It is now 2019. We have close-ish capability. We have that capability-ish.
So weird, but his haircut
Wine Searcher
got a lot better.
Aggregates. It's there.
So weird. And I'm saying this because I need to go get a haircut myself.
Best Buy, where people look up stuff on Amazon, you know? So I was wrong about timing. What I'm good at now, people are like, yeah, you're so right. I'm good at timing. That's why I didn't bet on VR.
That's why he listens to people.
That's why I don't bet on machine learning or things of that nature. I know every one of those things is going to happen. The question is when, right? So, yes, what you're saying is right. The question for you is,
in a
how
few
are you
seconds,
overthinking it? So would I say
I'm slightly
you should
doing
go buy a
something
bunch
at the
of
moment.
buildings for your restaurants? Like, that may not work, but when that's at scale, when ordering food on Alexa is at scale, or Google, you could be talking about a good 7-10 years. Could be more. I think that's, if I'm guessing. That feels ish. You start thinking about here's what you have to look at. Who's doing it all the time? If anybody here has 3 to 9-year-old kids in their life, they definitely see that those humans think about voice very differently than we do. So in 7-8 years, when they're in high school and have the capability of having like some money, whatever, they're going to start doing things differently. That's how everything happens. That's how online dating happened. Online dating was around for a long time. It didn't become acceptable until the generation that only talked on AIM and all that. Got it? So you have to look at consumer behavior. I'll tell you, the bigger thing is going to be the infrastructure of last mile.
That's so true.
Who's going to deliver it? So, for example, I think there's going to be a ton of restaurants that don't have a physical location, that are just sitting under buildings and have contemporary kitchens.
What? I don't know if I had that recorded, but I had that same exact thought when I was thinking about, what was it? I was trying to order something on Postmates or something that was out of my range or something. Because of my geographic location in the city, it didn't allow me to be able to purchase something. Then I was like, wait a minute, what if, say like Jamba Juice, what if their product was, what if they could figure out how well received their product would be and how much sales they would do if they looked at where people would buy their product if they could and have it delivered. If they looked at that, if their sales were only 2%, or 2% of their sales were only from Postmates or something like it, Uber Eats, whatever, in one area, but they had the ability to look at, all right, if we opened up a store in this area, it could be 15%, and it cost, how much ever to open a satellite store in this area, and that would certainly cover the 15% increase in sales. That's a no-brainer. So I could see companies, I could see pop-up shops being taken to a whole new level, especially for food, because people want it faster. I just see that, I see that being something in the future, being able to rent basement kitchens out, literally. Like, that's all it's for. There's no need to walk by it. It's just a kitchen in a basement with a delivery window, period. I see that happening, and I've thought about it before. I don't know, it's very interesting that he mentions this, as I've thought about it before. Whoops, and I need to press play.
That's what everybody's going to be.
It's what Amazon is right now.
No, I think brand's the only thing left. As many as there are now. Like, I think that, to your point, Alexa or Google or phone, send me a cheeseburger, but there will be brands that say, send me a Shake Shack burger or McDonald's or Burger King. I don't think brand has to go away. I think you're making a valid point, but I don't think you realize how many people don't buy based on brand. Like, people, like the amount of people here who bought a cheeseburger and they actually didn't give a fuck. It was just the first one in the airport that had a cheeseburger, and whether it was Tim Hortons, McDonald's, Burger King, or something else, they didn't care. That happens every day. That's why private labels are doing well, right? And convenience.
He shakes a water bottle.
But brand is queen, and she runs shit. The amount of brands allowed are completely predicated on how well brands are executed. I think you got to think about what one buys, right? Like a cheeseburger. I mean, everybody, look, I think you're going to buy your toothpaste. You're going to buy it from Alexa, and it's going to be in your home within 3 minutes. That's awesome. Buying a fucking pair of sneakers that way is not awesome for a lot of people. Still, people want to see it and touch it. You have to figure out what commodities are in trouble. 7-Eleven's
Staples.
in trouble. Convenience stores and bodegas are in trouble. I really believe that. We overpay. Everybody here has paid more for something that they knew they could buy somewhere else because it was right there. Instead, you didn't drive to Walmart or Costco or Sainsbury's, right? Well, that convenience is about to get really convenient.
So true.
So it's convenience, it's brand, right? There's all the same things that have always dominated humans, will always play. So I'm obsessed with brand. Because with voice, to your point, I pull up a Google search in 2003 when that was the game. Even you might have been better. I was the best at it. Wine Library was better than everybody. Even wine.com. I was better than everybody. It's why I got big. But people still saw their store that they were actually looking for, not me below, right? They typed in Cabernet. They wanted to buy from the supermarket. They saw the Wine Library ad. I got a lot of them, but I didn't get everybody. And they would go to where they wanted. Here, if I say wine, Amazon controls that.
Cool.
So what I need them to say is Wine Library. That's why brand is so important. Right? Because if they're going to say, send me supplements, I want creatine. You're finished. Because you're not going to be able to afford the affiliate fee. The amount of money that Google, Apple, Amazon, or whoever else wins this is going to be able to charge brands like Rickard to be the default brand are going to make slotting fees in stores look like a fucking picnic.
Do you think Amazon will automatically as well make their own
100%. 100%. They'll be strategic. They'll do what they've always done. They'll pick and choose. If Rickard's willing to really pay, they'll be like, fuck it. We'll get to whatever in 3 years. But if nobody's willing to pay, fuck it, we'll do it ourselves. Or they're going to look at data. Everyone's asking for shampoo. It's now a viable enough thing for us to do our own shampoo.
Dang.
Voice is a big one because it's not visual. Visual still gave us options.
Voice doesn't.
Voice we're going to have no control other than
That's crazy.
brand. Alexa, send me Twinkies, not chocolate cupcakes. That matters. That's why I keep building brand. That's why brand is forever.
That is so true.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Of course.
But then people go away because it's like shit.
And the quality where, to your point, and that is examples where the quality, you had a big enough advantage in the actual consumer's point of view, not your own. Where a lot of brands are going to lose, and why they lost the private label game, is they assumed that the quality delta was going to be enormous, and in some categories it wasn't. So, correct, your R&D capabilities are the delta. But convenience is a son of a bitch, boy. It's a fucking son of a bitch. There are people literally go into a Sainsbury or Walmart or a supermarket wanting to buy your product, but because it's one shelf lower and this one's here and they know they don't like it as much, it just fucking, they don't have the second for you. It's crazy. How to be a brand that makes somebody willing to be inconvenient is the fucking holy grail. How are you so good that I'm willing to go out of my way to have you?
That's so true.
Yeah, that's the real answer.
Value.
I know all about it.
Yeah, so we're building on more company. We have the platform.
Yep.
Instagram is
I'm
going
aware.
very well.
Yep.
We're on the third place of the most engaging Instagram platform. So
It's hard to hear these.
It's huge.
But,
It's the most important platform, and you're one of the most important products on the platform. It's huge.
yeah, at the moment. But internally, we discussed, okay, what if we have our app with 2 million downloads? Facebook is growing also. We have 2.5 million followers on Facebook. But that was also my question. What about the other channels or the focus? We have a community, we have the fans. But yeah.
It's so crazy. I don't know if you saw. This is literally the post I just posted on Instagram this morning. I think my post is something like, if Instagram disappeared today, so would 98% of you. Because everyone's so one-dimensional. What should you do? You should start a podcast 365 days a year. You should post 2 times a day on YouTube. You should figure out the business version and put it on LinkedIn. You should start your own text messaging platform. You should build up your own email.
Just all
of it.
Dang, I have a lot of work to do.
You need the retention, you siphon it. And you need your own first-party data, email and texting, because you need to own it.
But do you think also own platform? Just that you cannot be...
Sure. 433.com?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So you have all the data.
Because even the traffic and the cookies and the first-party data, all of it. Events, yep. Apparel, all of it.
Clear. We're opening...
And the beauty is you're in a great spot. That's the answer to everybody.
Yeah.
You have something big already. You just have to throw right hooks in 433. Look at my I always say, watch what look what I'm doing. Like, I'm like 3 posts to get that post I took 5 years ago where I point because I want you to turn on my notifications. Like, I'm always gathering attention, right? I'm putting the final touches on my new text messaging platform. I had it for a while, first in line. The tech wasn't strong, about to roll it out. And when I re-roll it out, and you'll see it, I'm going to throw one post is just going to be a black box with a phone number. Like, that's going to be the post. I don't give a fuck that it's going to get 22,000 likes instead of 200,000. I want the fucking phone numbers. People get caught up in bullshit. Literally, I know this happens in your company, whether it's you or somebody else. You care so much about winning the day on a post on Instagram, you're not siphoning out the IP. This is what happens. Your next post should be like, sign up for our email list. It's not going to do as well as the fucking clips, but it's going to be much more valuable for your business.
Yeah, we're not so critical of what we post because we want to have the high engagement and be high in the algorithm.
Yep.
So, but I totally understand what you're saying.
You're pandering to Instagram.
Yeah.
There were people that were the biggest on MySpace too.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's
It's good to know.
We're opening in the second office in New York City.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we signed up last week. So
It's awesome.
Good plan.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
You guys are doing great.
Yeah. So I will catch you up.
Please.
Yeah.
Who are the people that buy these things?
The buyer is quite often different to the actual user.
I understand.
So
that makes
the
sense.
rider who is the user, they're
Of course.
sponsored or
Of course.
they want to reach dad.
Yes, I understand. To really get the rider and really get the dad, to your point, you got it. It's Instagram and LinkedIn, or Instagram and Facebook, or Snap and Facebook, but the creative, everything's fundamentally different. It's just being in the mindset of actually marketing to both of them and being good, back to being a good footballer. Like, you might be better at LinkedIn than you are at Instagram. You know? I'm better at video than I am written word. Right? So I think, but yes, of course you can do that. And I'm very bullish on LinkedIn advertising.
Yeah.
I really am. For consumer goods too. LinkedIn's underrated. They built fucking Facebook, and there's business people in there, and all you have to do is, if you're selling them soap, make it about how efficient their business day will be if they use your, like, you have to make it contextual. People always talk about awareness, but they don't talk about relevance.
Interesting.
And the biggest problem is
That's all I can
talks
think about.
Awareness as potential awareness versus
Like, that's what goes through my head all the
So
time.
what I love about Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, it's actually being consumed. And you can actually make contextual creative for it. That's why it's so much better.
When you talk about potential creative, you're getting after psychographic breakdown or is it
Both.
contextual too?
Both psycho and demo, right? And the platforms have that information. But like you know on LinkedIn that the person works at RBS or went to Cambridge, or like, you know. I don't know how people haven't figured this out. Like, when I say haven't figured it out, I think we do a bad job of layering common sense. It's so effective. The problem is nobody realized how much creative it took. That's where everybody got fucked. Including, it took me a little while. It's just so much creative. Like, back to personal brand for some of you, like, some of the stuff we're starting to do, it's like, hey, Detroit, hey, Texas. Like, the stuff I'm doing for empathy, sat there for like 20 minutes and did like 73 different beginnings. Hey, did you fuck up? This is literally one. Hey, did you fuck up Valentine's Day? We're running that right now. Don't ever fuck that up again. Order a subscription to wine. You don't have to think about buying her a gift anymore. Dudes. Like it's, We literally picked the highest net worth counties in America, literally from Wikipedia, just like probably clean-ish data, and I just was like, hey, Huntington Beach, hey, Somerville, hey, Hunter, like literally. And then you run it and it converts better. But what everybody else did was what I did for years. Hey, everybody, you should pick up this wine. Run to everybody. Think about if you guys made contextual creative as Instagram ads to just the football team that person actually liked. I don't put any Patriot highlights on my football Instagram accounts,
Wow.
And then you can make the inside joke of razzing the rival, right? Now you're relevant. Literally when you see a LinkedIn ad that says, hey, Dad, do you have a daughter? Here's what's really cool, though, about going broad. If your LinkedIn ad said, hey, Dad, do you have a daughter that rides? What's interesting is LinkedIn and Facebook do not have that data for the most part. But if you go high net worth, if you go into cliche, right, that human, if it's a good piece of creative, is going to pass that on to his nephew whose daughter rides, or his boss, That's what's amazing about social. Nobody rips out a fucking newspaper ad and brings it, like, think of it, right? Or watches a commercial, takes out their phone, records it. But people do pass on social creative that's good. Be like, hey, do you know about this company? See where I'm going?
Yeah.
So that's the reason to go broad. Social media is special. I just don't understand how people don't see it. And let me phrase, it's hard. It's hard. It's new. It's the reverse of the old world. It's literally the reverse. It's all bottom up instead of top down. So it just doesn't come natural to people because most people are not consumer centric. It came natural to me because I grew up in a retail store selling RBS or went to Cambridge or I don't know how people haven't figured this out. Like when I say haven't figured it out, I think we do a bad job of layering common sense.
Hold on a second.